Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to Parent University. I'm so happy that you could all join us. My name is Stephanie Heilig, and I am an administrator in the Equity, Engagement, and Partnerships Office, and I oversee Parent University and School of Choice. So I'd like to welcome you to our kind of relatively new way of streaming and going on YouTube to do our Parent Universities. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for an hour. I am certainly hoping that we can get lots of your questions answered. So let's first start by kind of seeing who's out there in the audience. And I know that some of you are tuning in on our Spanish feed and on our Khmer feed. So hello, welcome. Let's start by doing this just to kind of practice using the chat feature. If you all can go over, I'd love for you all to put the name of the school that you are representing in the chat. I always like to give a little shout out to see who's here. And I might remind you that our chat is public. So putting anything on there, just so you know, once YouTube has saved this kind of forever, the chat will remain public. So we're going to kind of practice using that, but I think putting the name of your school would be great. So let's see who's here. I'm going to take a look at the chat, kind of scroll through. All right, so we've got Emerson, I see Prisk, which is great, Cleveland, Longfellow, Carver, Naples, Prisk, Stevenson, Bircham, Bixby, Edison. Oh, I like the hands. Bixby, Madison, Bernie. We're all over. We've got 75 of you. So let's see who's here. Gompers, Madison, Fremont. This is awesome. All right. Keller, Educare, Prisk, Madison Elementary. This is really awesome. Keep them coming, everybody. Keep letting me know where you are tuning in from. What I want to do while we're having, Los Cerritos, we got some other ones. I'm trying to mention some that haven't been mentioned, which is great. What I would like for you to do, if you have a pen and a paper, you might want to keep that handy. And here's why. Now, hopefully, if I do my job, I'll answer lots of your questions, but sometimes I don't, or maybe your question takes a little bit of a different kind of an angle. I'd love for you, if you can, to write your questions down. Then as we go through the presentation, if I answer it, you can check those off and then we won't have to worry about answering them. But if I don't, then what I'm going to ask you to do, same as you're putting it in the chat, you're going to put some of those questions in the chat. So if things go like I think they'll go, we're going to have about 45 minutes of live question and answers toward the end of the presentation. So that will be wonderful that I can get lots of your questions answered. I'm going back to the chat. I've got Bryant. I've got Naples, Minnie Gant. I've got a Twain, Grant. I love it. I like all the shout outs, people. These are wonderful. These are really good. Okay, so let's start off. I want all of you to take a deep breath. Breathe in, breathe out. If this is your first time going through School of Choice, welcome. If this is your oldest kid, welcome. If this is your last kid or middle kid, this might be familiar to you all. So hopefully my presentation will alleviate some of your fears and concerns. And if you have a mix of excitement and nervousness or anxiety, that's totally normal. I have 2 children in high school. I've done middle school choice twice. I've done high school choice twice. So I can speak from experience. You're going to get through it. Hopefully we've created a system that's pretty easy to navigate and that won't have too many pitfalls in the process. So that will be wonderful. What we are going to do is we're going to be watching a video from a strangely familiar face. I'll just leave it at that. You'll get a good chuckle when the video is playing. And while that video is playing, you can write down any questions that you have. Now, some of you might be really nervous. Oh my gosh, what did she say? Let me take a picture. Let me see if I can remember that. You don't need to worry because this is on YouTube. Once it's over, you can go back and you can watch it over and over again. You can share it with your friends. It will be posted on our website. So you don't need to worry if you've missed too much information. So I don't want you to feel stressed out or have to worry about all of that. So you've got your pen and your paper ready. You've kind of taken a deep breath. You're ready to listen. We've got about 100 people tuning in live, which is fantastic. We will definitely have lots more time to answer questions, but we're going to show our video and then we'll come right back and I will join you live. So gentlemen up in the booth and ladies in the booth, I think we're ready for our video whenever you are. See y'all back here in about 10 minutes. Hello, fifth grade families. I am Stephanie Heilig, Administrator in the Equity, Engagement, and Partnerships Office with Long Beach Unified School District. I'm happy to welcome all of you to the Middle and K-8 School of Choice process. This video will provide you with some important information so that you can be prepared to make your middle school selections in March. Long Beach Unified has a variety of schools to explore. There are 15 middle schools and 7 kindergarten or K-8 schools. These schools offer more than 20 elective choices for students. Let's take a closer look at these types of schools. LBUSD middle schools are large, accommodating between 500 and 1,500 students. They offer a wide range of electives and special day class options. Residents are given priority at these schools when they select the school as their first choice. Kindergarten through 8th grade or K-8 schools are smaller, accommodating about 200 to 450 middle schoolers on the same campus as K through 5th graders. There are limited special day class options at these schools. Residents are given priority, and so are continuing students, as long as the school of choice application is completed. Both middle and K-8 schools accept all students, regardless of GPA, and they also offer accelerated courses for all students. Also, if you have a sibling that will attend the same school next year, you will be given priority. Now that you have an overview of our schools, let's review the timeline of events in the School of Choice process. We will begin with the Prepare and Explore phase. This is our current phase, and it will last until March 22nd, 2024. If you are a current LBUSD student, we ask that you take the following steps to prepare. Check your ParentView login to make sure your email and password are active. If you have made any changes to your address or personal information, contact your current school to request changes. Finally, make sure your children are linked under the same ParentView account. The deadline to complete these steps is March 22nd, 2024. If you are a Long Beach resident and are interested in attending LBUSD, or if you're returning to our district, you will need to enroll online. This will require you to create a ParentView account or use an existing account to upload and update documents and information. Your elementary school of residence will verify uploaded documents and transfer your child to the School of Choice queue. The deadline for this is also March 22nd, 2024. Let's take a look at the ways that you can explore our schools. Our website is the best way to find the most current information around the choice process. Visit www.lbschools.net. Click on the main menu waffle and then hover over the Families tab to reveal the School of Choice tab. Click on that and then click on Middle School of Choice. Our banner will announce the most current news and information. You can also find information such as special education programs, directions on completing the application, and more in the Resources section. Scroll down below for a complete timeline of events. While it is not shown on this page, you can change your language preference by clicking on the bottom left-hand corner. Another way to explore our schools is to attend our Middle and K-8 Choice Fair on Saturday, February 24th at Cabrillo High School from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. All of our schools will have an information booth where families can meet staff and students while getting an overview of each school. There will also be resource tables including after-school care and transportation to answer your questions. Each of our middle and K-8 schools will also host a site visit for families. You will be able to get a feel for the school culture by engaging with the staff and students, visiting classrooms, and exploring electives. Our website has a complete schedule of these dates. Now that we've talked about preparing and exploring, let's move to the application phase. All 5th grade students should plan to complete the online application, which opens on March 25th via Parent View. This is not a first-come, first-served process, as all on-time applications will be considered equally. You will log into your Parent View account and click on the 5th grade Parents Click to Open SOC Application button. Your school of residence will be automatically selected for you, and then you will be asked to select up to 3 additional school preferences. This is a sample of what the application looks like. For step-by-step instructions in Spanish and English on completing this application, visit our website under the Resources section. Some of our schools are impacted, meaning that there are more applicants than available spaces. Not everyone who selects this as a first choice will be accepted. It also means that these schools will be unavailable as a second and third choice because they are filled with students who selected the schools as a first choice. We cannot be sure each year which schools will be impacted, but this is a list of schools over the last 2 years that are impacted or near impacted. Knowing this list can help you make your selections carefully. Contact your school counselor or our helpline for assistance with making your school selections. There are also step-by-step instructions on how to complete the School of Choice application on our website under the Resources section. Your application must be completed by April 12th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Once your application is completed and certified, it will be processed. Your child will then be assigned to a middle or a K-8 school. There are a few placement priorities that are considered. First is your school of residence. If you live within a school boundary and you select it as your first choice, that is given the highest priority. Second is our continuing 5th graders who select their K-8 school. It is important to note that this only applies to those that complete an application. The third consideration is if a sibling will be attending the same school for the fall of 2024. Finally, priority will be given to students coming from an LBUSD dual immersion program and select Keller as their number 1 selection. On April 26th, you will receive a school messenger notifying you that your child's placement is complete and can be accessed via Parent View. After this date, the middle or K-8 school will reach out to you with information regarding classes and elective selections. Here are some important facts for you to consider when making your school of choice selections. School of residence is only given a priority when it is selected first. Once you decide to select a school other than your school of residence, it is likely that your spot will be filled with another student. There is not priority for feeder schools. Your address on file determines what your school of residence is. Unfortunately, Long Beach does not provide transportation to any school of choice. If your child has an IEP, please speak with your case carrier about your school selections. Finally, the School of Choice office cannot make changes to placement after May 3rd, 2024. Here are some next steps to guide your family through the School of Choice process. Visit our website and make plans to attend our choice events. It is important to ask questions while at these events and talk with staff and students. Finally, think about your interests and what your strengths are. There is a school for everyone, so take the time to think about what is the best fit for your family. To conclude, here are some important dates to remember. The Choice Fair is February 24th. Site visits are February 26th through March 13th. The application opens on March 25th and closes on April 12th. Placements will be available on April 26th. Our team is available to help. Please leave a message on our helpline or send us an email. One of our staff members will reach out to you for support. We are excited to support you as you select a middle or a K-8 school for your middle school experience. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to working with you. All right, everybody. How about that? That person looked crazily familiar, right? I mean, that's kind of nuts. I'm just kidding. I did that last week in preparation for tonight. I know that was a ton of information. I do want to go back over a couple of things just to help you all navigate. There was a lot of information there, so we're going to stomach it. I'm going to ask the booth. We're going to go over to our website. I want to show you all how to get to the School of Choice website page. That's extremely important. About, I would say, 80 to 90% of your questions can be answered on that page. So I'm going to tell you what to do. You go to lbschools.net, okay? You're here, and then you're going to go over to this little waffle that's in the right-hand corner that says Main Menu. You're going to click on that, and then you get to this page. Sometimes the picture will change. Don't be too concerned about that. But you're going to go to the Families tab. That's, you hover over it, and you get to the Families tab. And by the way, I should say, if you want to change the language for yourself to make it easier, down in the bottom, you can hover over this. You could change it to whatever language you like. So we've got Khmer and Spanish to help out. I'm going to stick with English. I should practice my Spanish, but I'm not going to tonight. I'll leave that for another time. So we'll go to the Families tab as I hover over it. And then if I just move over here, I go to School Choice. I'm going to click on that. I get a new pop-up window. I also should say this is best viewed not on a phone, on a laptop, or if you take your phone and you kind of turn it sideways, that may help you. But it is designed to be best used on a laptop. But you'll see it here, and then you can do one of two things. You can either click on the icon here to get some information, or you can go over here and just hover over the words so you can get straight to the middle school choice page. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can see the workshop that we're on right now is here. Tomorrow when I get back into the office, or Thursday when we get an opportunity, we will post this Parent University YouTube link, the recorded version, here. And so you can access it after tonight. You can go see that. This blue square here is where you're going to get the latest and greatest information. So right now we kind of have our welcome message that's there. This resources box is extremely helpful. So we have the welcome letter you all got in your school messenger. We've got some FAQs, some frequently asked questions. We have some information on our special education programs, our step-by-step instructions. What's posted now is last year's version. I imagine this year will be really similar, but right now it's last year, so some of those dates are incorrect. We will get them fixed once we can get that updated. And then this is a link if you're new to LBUSD or you're returning. Those of you, most of you tuning in right now, you've already been here, so you're okay. But if you know a friend that wants to come to Long Beach Unified, this will tell them how to complete the online enrollment. Our link here to our site nights are here. Our School of Choice information is here. And then as you scroll down, you'll get to our timeline. And this is kind of a waffle type of situation or setup. If you click on the arrow, you get the drop-down menu. So it gives you lots of information here on what to do to prepare. Let me close that cursor. Let me open the next one under Explore. So if you look here, there's our link to the YouTube. But as I scroll down, this gives you the times for all of the site nights. And eventually that will be linked over to their website so you can get information. This, I think, is a complete list of the websites that are there. Sorry, the site nights. That will be the Explore phase. And then down below that, we have some information on the application phase and how to do that. So this is a really helpful website to have. I know what I tell parents is to bookmark that page because I think that that's extremely helpful for all of you as you begin to navigate the website. So again, it's lbschools.net. You could also search choice and you can get to the page from there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at the chat. I'm going to answer a few of them. This presentation is, yes, just for middle and K-8 school of choice. For elementary, if you're interested in going to TK or kindergarten, you need to call the elementary office. And while I'm still on the website, I can actually go there. So we have a couple of questions about that. This is your information here. And I believe their information actually is on our main school of choice page. So you can get information by calling them and they can let you know. They have a few different processes and a few different Saturdays when they do Kinderfest. So this one is specifically for that. So let's take here. I'm going to go ahead and you guys can throw your questions in the chat. I'm going to say this too. And we're good with the website, gentlemen, we can go back live and go over to us. So we'll be back on there. I should say this, if your question is really specific to your child, just remember that our chat is saved and it is live. So I don't want everybody, taking care of your business. It probably would be best, and I do want to answer that, to either call our helpline or send it on an email, because then we could specifically get to that. So I'll try to keep the questions and answers for tonight very general for the good of the whole group. And I know I may not get to all the questions. I'm going to do what I can. I'm looking for themes, and I'll try to answer those as best I can. Okay. First question that came in, do you have an idea how long it takes to update your school of address? It shouldn't take too long. It seems if you've been waiting since December 2023, I would give your middle school a call and just kind of let them know we need to get this changed by, the time that the middle school choice application kind of starts up. Can you please, take a look at it? There's a little bit of a different process for them to do, but I would say give your middle school a call and make sure that that is updated. Also, siblings linked, any of that information is important. The application itself will pull from Parent View, so whatever information is in there is what it's going to use. It's important to make those changes by March 22nd. If the changes are made after that, the system won't be able to honor those changes, and then we have to wait. And by that time, if the space is filled up or if there's no room where it is that you'd want to go, that gets really tricky. So it's important to get those changed. So we've got that there. Let's see here. Is there ever a case where a student wouldn't get their school of residence? If you fill out an application, no. It does get a little bit tricky for some of our schools that are impacted when we get students that don't fill out an application. So then we want to honor people that fill out the application and obviously place them there. But if you're a resident and you don't let us know that you're coming, or if you're a K-8 student on school of choice already and you don't let us know that you want to continue, that's when things could get really tricky. But for the most part, if you are a resident student and you select your middle school first choice, you are like 99.9% sure guaranteed that you will get in. But again, you have to make sure you fill out that application. That's really important. So that's a great question to ask. All right, let's see here. Yes, please have your children attend the site nights, the site visits, and have them come to the fair. It is important to do that. I really say to everybody, that's a chance for you to get a feel for the school, to see really what it's like. You're looking at it from the parent lens of, let me see what the curriculum is, and let me see if you're looking at safety concerns, all sorts of things. Your students are looking at it a little bit different. Do I see myself here, right? Do they have an elective that I'm interested in? Do the kids here look like me? Does it seem like this will be a place for me? I think it's important to have both of you go and take a look at the school. That really ensures that you're choosing for really the best fit. So yes, have them come. Okay, let's see here. Do you have to do the application? It's helpful to do it. So I know a lot of you are kind of putting it in there. I'm going to say yes. I mean, we encourage you to. That way we know for sure you're coming and we can ensure your spot at that school. It gets really tricky when people don't fill out the application, and then we don't necessarily always automatically place a student there. We don't know if you're planning on, leaving and going outside of our district, maybe to a private school or elsewhere. So we're really, really asking parents To fill that out, it'll be automatically selected. It might take you about 2 minutes to do the application, but that really does ensure your spot. So that's really important. If my kid transfers to a K-8 school, can my kinder kid go to the same school? We place middle school. That would be a question for the elementary office. Certainly you could make an argument for that, but the siblings are linked. We like to have children attend the same school. It all depends on space availability. So that kinder process has a little bit different timeline. You may want to contact the elementary school for that. We do try as much as we can to honor that. It does sometimes get a little bit tricky. So we place middle school. I believe the kinder does theirs a little bit afterward, or it could be before, but we should check on those timelines just to make sure that they correlate. All right. What would be the process if I work closer to my school of choice? You can mark anything on the application for sure. We don't honor, we can't make placements based on the perception of a school or where a parent works. We really go by where the residential address is, but certainly, in some cases, students who do mark that they'd like to go to a school of choice that isn't their residential school do get in. When we get the process, the way that it works is if there are more applicants than there are spaces for, what happens, all the residents get placed first, and then any of the available spaces are just on a randomized lottery process. So we don't look at anything else other than we might balance out with gender. If there's boys versus girls, we kind of want those to be a rich experience and have kind of an even number of both, but we wouldn't prioritize the parents' work location for school of choice. Now, the middle school office, once we get closer to August or September when school starts, you certainly could make an argument for that and they might be able to honor that. But through our process, we really only go with those first selections and with residential area. Okay, let's see here. Okay, if you go to Henry, is getting accepted into Keller a priority? You don't get more priority than any of the other dual immersion schools that we have. Coming from Henry, certainly you're in a dual immersion program, but we also have other schools in our district that are also dual immersion. And so this year we are prioritizing those students. Certainly if you mark it first, we've been kind of informed by our secondary schools office that we are going to honor students that come in from the dual immersion programs. So if Keller is your first choice and it might exceed the number of spaces available, the secondary office has let us know that they will make those accommodations and they will accommodate for that at Keller. So if that means adding another section, that is something that would be taken into consideration. So they will take a look at that. So that's important. Okay. Do you know if Washington is going to have transportation to the other school? That would be a question for Washington on their site night. I do know that they are going to go through reconstruction. They will be, in some cases, relocated. I would certainly specifically ask Washington. I think there's a number of other schools that may fall into that category. And I think there's a couple of questions about that. So I would ask those schools when you go to their site visit what the second location would be, so that you can make an educated decision on where to send your students. I would also ask how long the displacement would be. Is it for a year? Is it for 2 years? Is it certain grade levels? We are not privy to that information, but I do know that the school sites would have that information. Specifically, I would talk to the administrator when you go to the site night at that time. I believe the middle school office probably has a record of that. That's an excellent question to put in there, and I appreciate that. There is asking, how many choices do we make? So let's kind of go through it. Your first selection must be at your school of residence, okay? So that's the first thing. That's the first school that's going to pop up, and it'll typically be in that big screen that I showed you. It'll be in purple. The other selections that remain, you can choose up to 3. Do you have to choose 3? No. Can you choose 2? Yeah, you can choose 2. If you're happy with your school of residence and that's where you want to go, then choose that and don't choose anything else. You can just choose one and hit submit. So if you're making a selection, I must tell you, you are letting the system know this is an opportunity or an option for me. So you can't make a selection and then say, you know what, I want to go back because I changed my mind. Here's what happens oftentimes If you are going to leave your school of residence to go to a school of choice, chances are there is somebody else that's going to take your spot at that school. That's also their first choice. So if we're going to give you your first selection and we're going to give someone else their first selection, then when it kind of comes through, you go, oh, psych, you know what? Just kidding. I want to go back to my school of residence. It could be that there isn't space available. Your spot has been filled. So it's really important to think about what those selections are. And I will say this as someone who knows, as a parent who's been through it, as you're kind of thinking about what school your children want to go to, you should think about all those extracurricular activities. Some of them happen a little bit later, sports, band, clubs, different things like that. Your children may be at school a little bit longer than the desired time. If they are taking a bus to school or if you are driving them to school, how long will it take to get there? While it's great to get into that school, I would certainly make sure you have made arrangements for transportation either personally or you've kind of made the bus routes. You understand how they're going to get there. Because again, once we've placed somebody, it's really hard to get back to your school of residence if your space has been filled with somebody else. So those are things just to think about as you go through and you select those schools. Certainly we want you to have information on that, but we want you to make an educated choice as well. Okay. So a lot of you are asking specifics about a school. What are the chances of getting in? It's hard for us to predict because we don't know year after year what students are going to select. So it always changes. The one slide that I provided to give you the impacted schools, what we know about those schools is year after year, for the last 5, 6, 7 years, those are the schools that get more applicants than there are spaces for. So we already know not everyone that selects it as a first choice is going to get in. So that's really important. I couldn't give you numbers because we just don't have them. Every year is different. But it is important for you. I certainly would recommend to you, make your first selection one of those impacted schools if you don't want to go to your residential school, but you can't pick all 3 selections as an impacted school. I'll give you an example. If you don't want to go to your home school and you're trying to go to the following order, Marshall, Rogers, Stanford. If you don't get Marshall as a first choice, Stanford's going to fill with first choices and so will Rogers. So then the system has no other choice but to place you at your school of residence. So you want to make sure if you don't want to go to your school of residence that you don't pick all impacted schools. Chances are all the schools on that list are going to fill with first selections. So picking it second or third is almost a wasted selection. They are going to be full. Certainly you can, you can give it a shot. I would certainly say by third choice, they're going to be full. So that's something really to think about. So I would encourage you to think about a second or a third selection that would not be an impacted school, because that would increase your chances of getting into a school of choice if that's something that you would like. Okay. Let's see here. If the school of residence pops up, if you want to choose a different school, do you change that? That's a great question. So on the application, once you make your selections, they'll populate on the top. You can re-rank your selections from there. So ranking something first means that's your first preference or selection. Ranking something fourth, that's your last selection or your fourth. Your first selection on the application must be your school of residence, but then you can change that as you go through. So it will give you an option to re-rank your choices on that application. So you can put your school of residence anywhere. Maybe you want to go for a school of choice and then put your school of residence second. That's great. So the system will go through all the first choices first, then it goes to the second choices for anybody that hasn't been placed. It does a round of second choices. It wants to give you your highest selected school. But if the schools are full, it will move down to your next ranked selection until it doesn't have a choice in that case. It'll go to your fourth selection. Okay. All right. This is a good question. Once you're placed in school of choice, do you need to go through it the following year? The answer is no. So once you're placed for middle school, this is your place for 3 years. Okay. So that is your selection. Now, If you go to a school of choice and things don't work out for whatever reason, there is a process that you can do for 7th and 8th grade, usually right around the spring. We don't typically change students at the semester, but if things aren't working out, or you move, or you chose a school and it just wasn't something that you think probably will work out for you, certainly what we would like for you to do is call the middle school office and they'll try to honor those selections. It's all based on space availability, but certainly they do try to honor those changes once you've spent 1 year at the school that you've been placed at. Okay, so that's really good. Okay. Let's see here. One person's asking about you're returning back to our school district. Fantastic. Welcome. Thanks for coming back. What you need to do is you need to make sure that your enrollment is up to date. So you're going to contact your elementary school of residence. So if you're on an IDP, you're going to want to make sure that everything is current with enrollment. So I would go to your elementary school of residence, wherever you would go if you were attending LBUSD, and make sure that they have your enrollment documents and that you're sent over to our queue. So that would be important there. Okay. I did an interdistrict transfer. Well, I need to do it again. The $1 million question. Did you guys get money to ask the great questions? Because these are really good and I appreciate them. So thank you in advance. If you are currently attending LBUSD on an IDP or an interdistrict transfer, this is important. You can make selections like everybody else. Your first selection, you don't really have a school of residence. So in essence, you get 4 selections. However, it should be noted that per the interdistrict transfer, that all the students that are in LBUSD right now that are residents, they're going to get placed first. So then we go through any of the students that we have currently on an interdistrict transfer. Okay, so those are going to be placed as well. You need to secure an interdistrict transfer. If you do not secure a current one, when you go to your middle school of choice, if you are placed in a school, it can happen, and it's not often, but without that interdistrict transfer, it can happen where a resident can take your place at that particular school because you haven't secured that transfer. So it is important for you to secure it. You do want to contact the secondary schools office and say, I have my interdistrict transfer. I am attending XYZ elementary school. I just want to make sure it's in place so that when I go through school of choice, you all have it and we're good to go. So that's really important to have that as a selection. Yes, you can make selections. You're just like one of our students now, but again, we're going to place the residents that are first, then we're going to place everybody on an interdistrict transfer. So that's important to keep that in mind. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. How do we know which schools are impacted? So going back into the slide deck, when you go back to watch that YouTube video, I kind of list all the schools. There's also some notable schools on the bottom that, over the last 7 years, some years they are, some years they are not impacted. So it would be important to take a look at that list. I also would ask when you go to the site visits, are you an impacted school? Do you get more applicants every year than there are spaces for? Most of the time, if a school is, they will let you know that. It would suffice to say our K-8 schools for the most part are impacted because we do anticipate that kids will remain, not always, and sometimes there's a few spots, but again, there's only a few spots. And so if we get 50 or 60 students that want to come in, the K-8 schools are already filled to capacity from the continuing students. And so that gets really tricky, but that's important to kind of keep that in mind. Okay, if you're looking to transfer a rising 6th grader and a rising 3rd grader, our office does the middle school choice process. So the rising 3rd grader, you would have to adhere to the elementary timeline. For the rising 3rd grader, we will place the 6th grader, the rising 6th grader, the matriculating 6th grader, but we wouldn't place the 3rd grade student. So certainly I would say whichever one is placed first, especially if it's a K-8, and I think in this case it probably is, the siblings will show up on the application. Even if they're elementary school, they would show up if they're already placed there. If they are not placed there yet, they won't show up as a sibling preference, and so we'll place and then the elementary school will. But again, we try to link them, so it just depends on the elementary timeline for school of choice. We take care of the middle school choice portion. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm looking through. I'm looking for some more questions. Okay. You guys need to keep them coming. I don't know. Let's see here. I think I've answered many. I'm going down. All right. I think I've answered most of them. All right, everybody. You guys got to have more questions than that. We're here. You know, I think it's important when you think about middle school. I had a wonderful conversation with a mom. It's storytelling while I wait for some more questions to come in. I had a conversation with a mom at a district meeting. She told me, first she said, I want to apologize to you. And I laughed and I said, well, why? Last year, she was really upset that her child did not get in to the school that she wanted. She was upset about it. The child was upset. And she said, you know what? I want to let you know he is thriving right now. He ended up going to his middle school of residence. She did not get into her school of choice. And she said, you could, and I don't think she'll mind that I'm sharing this with all of you, tell your parents that when you get that placement, if it's not what you hoped for, it really is going to be what you make of it and how you approach it with your child. It's impossible for us, while I wish we could, we can't grant every single person's first choice selection. It's impossible. But I think the way that you approach it with your child sends all of the message to your student. And I think that the case is, listen, we're going to make the most of it for 6th grade, and we're going to try again in 7th grade. Because, I mean, truth be told, while I wish, we had a high percentage, we're at about 85%, 86% first choice acceptance rate, which is usually pretty good. But as we move forward where there are fewer spaces available because of our declining enrollment, and as we get more people filling out applications, that number kind of adjusts and changes a little bit. So I think it is important, though, to have those conversations with your kiddo. Again, I've been through it, as a parent. Disappointment's okay. I know it's, for the moment, it stings, it hurts. But I think if you approach it in that way, while it might be not an ideal situation, really thinking about making the most of it with your child, I think from somebody who's had experience and just also talking with parents, can be a really great conversation to have with your child. All of our schools they're working really, really hard to really ensure that our students get a wonderful experience. They all have something different to offer, but I think that that's really important to discuss. I also want to say too, oftentimes parents will listen to social media or opinions of others instead of really going to the source and kind of getting the facts from the school. I think that's really important too. While I love that we have a wonderful community and we share information, some of it sometimes is misguided, and in some cases might not be correct. So I think it's important to really think about making an educated choice for all of you, for yourselves, as we kind of move through the process, because again, all of our schools have something different to offer. One might be a really good fit for you, but another one might be a really good fit for another student. So I think that that's important. Okay. Let's see here. If your kid goes to a K-8 via school of choice, we still have to fill it out. That is absolutely true. So if you're right now at a K-8 school and you're on school of choice, if you don't fill out an application to let us know you want to stay, you will most likely be bumped from there, because again, not filling it out tells us we don't know if you're coming back. You will get preference, but only if you fill out that application. That is extremely important. We had a couple of those happen last year. We don't want you to lose your spot. It is essential that you fill out that school of choice application. Let us know you intend on staying, and then we are 99.9% we can guarantee that you can stay there. But again, as we have lots of people that want to come in, most of our K-8 schools are impacted. If we don't know you're going to stay, chances are you may not be staying and going back to that school. Really important. Okay. Somebody asked about the presentation in Spanish. If you go to the YouTube feed, there is a live stream right now, both in Spanish and in Khmer. So you can go to both of those and you can view the entire presentation in that language. You can also do it after we're done with this presentation as well. We can get you that information. Okay. All right. Let's see here. How does gate placement work? Another amazing question. You parents are amazing, and I love this. This is great. Every single school that we have in Long Beach offers GATE accelerated classes. So if you are a GATE identified student or your child is a GATE identified student, there are no separate selections for that because every school offers that. There is not a separate button to choose that. You don't get preference over another student. Every single school offers GATE and accelerated classes. So you have preference at your residential school, but not because you are GATE identified. Okay, so I think I got to that one. All right, good question. What if you have a child with an IEP, all right, and you want to go to a school? So this is important. Number one, you definitely want to make sure that the school that you want to select has the program that your child needs per their IEP. So number one, talk to your case carrier at the elementary school. Number two, if you go to our website, under the resources section, there is a link to our special education programs. If you click on that link, you'll get to their brochure. It gives you kind of a grid where you can see the different offerings at each school. It is important because we have to honor what's on your IEP. We have to place you where you can get services. Now you may say, that's not something I want to forego that and go to another school. You have to consider that and talk to your case carrier at the school to make sure that the IEP can be met. So that's important. We can't place you at a school that doesn't offer that program, especially if the classroom isn't particularly set up to offer those services. I also should mention with our students with special needs, if transportation has been offered to you, then our special education department, which places students with IEPs, especially for our SDC classes, will choose a school for you based on proximity to your home address. So it typically wouldn't transport you across town because the transportation is provided to a school that's closer. So if you have a student that is going to have an IEP that's going to be in a special day class, I certainly would call our Office of Student Support Services, and they can help you kind of navigate that a little bit. We get the information from them in our school of choice queue, and we'll place them accordingly. But the special education department really takes care of a lot of those placements. Okay. All right. Let's see here. If a relative goes to a middle school, the only relative that we can give preference for is an actual sibling, not a cousin, not an aunt, not a caregiver, not a teacher, not anybody. It has to be a student that will currently be attending for that year. So if you have a 7th grade sibling right now, that student will be in 8th grade and your other child is going to be in 6th grade, we can give sibling priority, but no other priorities are given for relatives through our school of choice process. Okay. Will the upcoming middle school choice fair share more? Yes, it will. It's a 3-hour process. You can stop in anytime you want to. I would tell you to go to your residential school where you're zoned for, talk to them. You are free to talk to any of the other 22 schools that are there. They will have information on electives. They will have information from usually the administrators there, a teacher is there or a few teachers. Students are there as well. And then they can kind of prep you for the upcoming site night. I say go to both. I mean, it's open to everybody. That is a nice event because all 22 schools are there. It's kind of a one-stop shop. From there, you can decide, do we need to go to a site visit or do we maybe decide, nah, we'll narrow it down or we'll just go to these few. So absolutely, they will all be there. And that's a great question. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Where can we find an overview of the schools of their tracks? So on our website, we have a link to the school of choice process. What you should do if you want to go see a particular school, you can see a list of them, but you can go to the school's website. So each of those schools will eventually be linked on our website, but the best way to get to take a look is to go onto our website and just search by school. You'll go directly to their website and then you can take a look at those course offerings. And so they can give you an idea about the electives. Some have it broken down by grade level. Here's what the electives are offered in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, etc. So the best place to get that would be to go directly to the website, to get information there. Okay. Let's see here. I think we talked about relatives, talked about gate schools. Do the middle schools have the available electives on their website? They should. So I would suggest that you go to the website. They should have a link there. If they don't, you can give them a call. They would let you know where that is posted. I know that as we get information from those sites, we will link it to our website. But with those 22 schools, I would certainly go onto our website and just search by school so you can take a look at the different schools that are offering those electives. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Wasn't clear on when we need to go to our home elementary school. I would if you have any doubt on your enrollment, I would go to your elementary school before March 22nd. You can do that tomorrow. You can do it next week. I think the sooner you make sure enrollment is in and that they have it, the more you can kind of relax and really focus on selecting those schools. So you can do that at any time between now, but it has to be done by March 22nd. So things are ready to roll on March 25th. If that's difficult or if you're not sure how to get in touch with them, our information, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. I think it was there before, but our number for the helpline, let me type it in here, is 997-8306 is the number for our helpline. I should say there's not going to be a live person that's going to pick it up. Right now we have lots of calls for high school choice, as you can imagine. We're kind of getting ready to open that process. We're starting with you all folks. We'll prioritize the high school calls, but we certainly can return your calls on middle school choice. So that's our helpline. Leave a message. We'll get back to you. The email, I'm going to type it in, hsmschoicehelp@lbschools. Let's see if my typing can work here, .net. And that's our email as well. You can send us an email, and please send us an email, especially if you have a specific need or a question. Again, because I know the chat is very public, and I know that some of you may have that and have a specific need, and I want to honor that for you and make sure that we get to that. But please definitely make sure that you send that in. Okay. All right. I think we still have a few minutes left. I want to be mindful of time. We've got about 8 more minutes. I'm still looking at our chat to see if any questions are coming in. Let's see here. I'm going to go back through to make sure I've answered them. So let's see here. Okay. Okay. I think... Oh, that's a good one. Is the lottery process randomized for kids with IEPs in Gen Ed? Depending on what the IEP is, so if it's for speech or hearing, or it's for, something that's generalized where you don't need a special day class, it is, but sometimes it can fill to capacity. So we did have a case last year. I think it's important to know that some of our, especially for RSP students, there are teachers at the site that can only carry so many RSP students per load. So if we give them more than is able to fill, the middle school choice office would be calling and kind of randomly choosing people to give them another placement. So that's never good. So what we do with those RSP students, the residents get priority as they always would, and then we take a look. So in this case, if it's RSP, if there are 5 more RSP spots and we've got 20 RSP students, then yes, that would be a randomized lottery. Special day class works a little bit differently, but we did have that case last year, pardon me, where every student that picked the middle school got in, except for the students that had RSP. That was not the case for them because, again, we have to honor the case carrier load for the teachers that are at that school. So that's why I put on there, there are some special circumstances, but we can't overload and give them more than that caseload can carry. Just as once there's seats not available at a school, we can't create seats that don't exist. The system won't let us do that. So that's a great question, and I'm glad I went through to answer that. I'm going to go through once more down at the bottom. All right. For students in ESL, English as a Second Language, or EL learners, that's a really great question. I would certainly ask at the school. Every school has the ability to support that with lots of programs that we offer. So as you go to the site visits and to the school choice fair, that's something that you can ask. What do you do for students that are, coming in that are EL1s or EL2s, or you need a lot of support? How do you support those students? Those would be great questions to ask them. We don't have that information. We know that schools there are some schools that are equipped for that, but I certainly would ask the school specifically so they can give you some information on that. Okay. All right. So the email is, it's on our website, but I'll just kind of let you know again. It's hsmschoicehelp@lbschools.net. And our helpline is 562-997-8306. All right. I think we have a couple of minutes left. You are welcome to stay on for the last 5 minutes, but for those of you that have joined us and you've gotten the information that you needed, I know you've taken an hour out of your evening, and I really appreciate it from you. I hope you found this helpful. Certainly we love to hear feedback. Let us know if you want to send us an email and say this was great, or hey, I like how you did this. It always helps us plan for next year. We're using a new platform this year. While I can't see you, I know that you could see me. I think it creates for some more engagement. So we definitely appreciate that. I do want to plug some of our Parent University workshops that are coming up next Tuesday, a week from today, and this will be in person at Browning High School from 5:30 to 7. We've got a Parent University session on reading strategies. We'll be joined by our curriculum office, and this is a wonderful time for you to come in person, engage with other parents, and really get some reading strategies. So if you're interested in Parent University, certainly give us a call, but you can go onto the website and click on Parent University, and you can get the full schedule of our events. But that's happening next Tuesday. We would love to see you there. I guarantee you're going to walk away learning something, at least that you can go home and help even your 5th grader who might not like to read as much or wants to say, Mom, I'm good. Let me push you away a little bit. But I guarantee you kind of learned something new. So wanted to kind of leave you all with that. Again, I'll stay on the chat, but I appreciate all of you joining us. We'll stay on maybe for about 1 more minute just to kind of help you all out. Again, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you all for the comments. I appreciate it. I know I'm hungry. My stomach's growling. I'm ready to go home and eat some dinner. But hopefully you are too. So I think we're finished. If any of you have any other questions, we'll check the chat again tomorrow and see what we can do to make sure we get those questions answered. But I really appreciate you joining us. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you, I hope, next week for Parent University in person at Browning. Good night, everybody. Take care. Thank you.